I'd like to demonstrate now how the DriveLine laser can be used at home to build good swing mechanics while you practice, helping you to repeat the same swing every time. There's four main components to the DriveLine positional trainer. One is a laser plane generator mounted to a practice club. The second is a laser sensor with a sensor area from here to here, and if the laser line or laser plane intersects that area at any point, it'll sound an audio alarm. The third component is a training mat, and the fourth is a CD lesson given by a PGA instructor. Right now I'm going to turn on the laser. You'll hear a slight buzzing. That is actually the motors in the laser turning, and whenever that laser light comes in contact with the sensor, you'll hear an audio alarm. In the case of the DriveLine positional trainer, audio alarms are a good thing. That means you're in the zone and you're hitting the sensor. Okay, I've got my training mat laid out here in front of me. I've got my laser mounted to the club. You can see when I turn the switch on the side of the laser, I now have a laser line coming out of my laser plane generator. Now this green LED on the side signifies that the laser is turned on. When I'm in a charger and I actually plug the charger in out on the top of the device, the light will turn red. So once again, turn on the laser. On my mat you'll see two balls, one for right-handers, one for left-handers. Since I'm a right-hander, I'm using this ball right here. There's a series of 6 pictures or 6 steps that you want to go through in a golf swing. Starting with address, the laser line I'm seeing right here is just inside my left heel. And as I go back in my swing in the takeaway position, step 2, it's just simply a shoulder turn. Nothing is manipulated in my wrist. I bring the club back until I get the audio alarm. Now that alarm right there tells me that I'm in the zone, that my laser plane is actually hitting the sensor. And I want to repeat the same step every time until I can do this with my eyes closed. And I'm building muscle memory of just a good takeaway. That's step 2, takeaway on the training mat. Step 3 on the training mat is to actually bring the laser sensor up to the edge of the mat, readdress, and as I come through the swing, it's going to sense if I'm on plane. So as I come back in my swing, shoulder takeaway, now I'm going to hinge my wrist and raise my hands until I'm on the sensor. Now at this point I'm on plane. Now I'm going to take a moment to explain what people mean by on plane. On plane, technically speaking, means that the shaft angle is pointed down to the target line. So regardless whether I have a cup in my wrist at this point or if I'm cocking my wrist, the shaft plane is still pointed right through the target line. So now back to my practice. Addressing the ball, the takeaway, on plane. If I get too steep, the sound goes off. If I get too laid back, the sound goes off. So I want to practice being able to hit that spot every time as I practice, until I can do it with my eyes closed. All right, I want to take just a moment now and talk about wrist hinge as opposed to wrist cock. There's 2 different things that happen and 2 different philosophies on what the wrist should do in a golf swing. So as I address the ball, I'm going to simulate a wrist hinge. And this is a pretty common drill given by a lot of instructors that teach a wrist hinge. And that's basically, at address, just to lift the club vertically up in the air. Now at that point your wrist is fully hinged. And now if I go back in my swing without turning my wrist, what you'll see at the top of my swing is a laser line that goes right down the target line, parallel to my feet. Now let's talk about a wrist cock. A wrist cock is actually when you address the ball, and what happens, instead of lifting the club directly up like the wrist hinge, you actually rotate the wrist along the back of the left hand or the forward hand. So what happens is you end up with a little bit flatter wrist, and at the top you will have a little bit flatter wrist. The resulting laser line will actually be at a slight angle, but when the hand is parallel to the shoulders, you'll be going through the sensor. So whether you believe in a wrist hinge or a wrist cock, the sensor in that position, when the hands are parallel with the shoulders, will sound the alarm. Again, we're just going to practice getting to that spot over and over until we can do it with our eyes closed. All right, now we're ready for step 4 in the training. It's called the inside move. I've got my laser sensor positioned right in front of my back foot. I turn my laser on. See my laser line here. As I come back to the top, you hear 1 beep, 2 beeps as I go to the top. Now when I drop my hands down on the inside move, I should get a beep as the club becomes parallel. If I'm coming over the top, I'm not going to hear a beep. If I'm coming down the inside, I'll hear 2 beeps. So I want to stop right at that point. When the club shaft is parallel to the ground, I want toe up position. And I'm just working on the inside move until I can do it with my eyes closed. Okay, now we're ready for step 5. It's labeled the release, and the purpose of this step is just to make sure that you actually stay behind the ball on the down swing. So as I come back in my swing, I hit swing zone 4 and now 5. Okay? If I start to glide and shift my weight, I'm going to miss the sensor. So keeping myself back behind the ball, I want to feel that every time. If I leave the club face open, I'm going to miss it. So I just practice that feeling of getting to the release point until I can do it with my eyes closed. Included with the DriveLine laser is a laser plane generator, a battery charger, a clamp for drivers or irons, a putting clamp to help practice putting, a laser sensor for monitoring every swing position, a CD golf lesson, and a DVD golf lesson given by PGA Pro.